16th. And I will start with reading from the script. In accordance with the requirements of the open meetings law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics that may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions, and not all items listed may be in fact discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meetings law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in the notice, which is the agenda. For anybody who's watching us by live streaming, the agenda is posted at lunenburgmass.gov. Go to the town calendar, find the Conservation Commission, and download the meeting where you can click on the Zoom link there. And if you just want to access directly, the meeting ID is 909-174-0347. Excuse me. Again, that meeting ID is 909-174-0347. We'll start out with a roll call. Jenny?
Present.
Rich, I believe, is still out. Jeff?
Present.
Mike?
Present.
Chris?
Present.
Thank you. We'll just start out with, for those of you that were in attendance last week, you're well aware of the issues we had with unfortunate Zoom circumstances. My apologies for that. We have made a bunch of changes in the background and changed the Zoom ID that we're hoping will eliminate or at least mitigate opportunities for that type of bad behavior again. Do we have any comments from members of the commission? Any comments from members of the public? And let me just also read the script on the public comment. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes and on a subject matter under the direct jurisdiction of the commission. Comments about current agenda topics are to be made during the comment period of the specific agenda item. Please address all comments to the chair and start out by stating your name and address. And the protocol is to raise your hand if you want to be called on by the host. And if you can't figure out how to raise your hand, just unmute yourself or wave at me and I'll respond. But I think most of the time people can find the raise your hand. It's in the periphery, depending on what type of device you are on. It'll either be in the upper right hand corner or down at the bottom of your Zoom window. And sometimes you might have to actually click on the window to have those raise hand types of options appear on the window. And I am not seeing any comments from members of the public. The September 18th meeting minutes have been posted and distributed. Did any member of the commission need to advocate for a change or revision to those? And I am not seeing any hands, so I think I'm looking for a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jenny, motion and second by Chris. Roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you. Sophie, did we have any requests for continuations for our meetings within the last 48 hours?
Yes, continuation request to the November 6th meeting for 22 Fairview under notice of project change.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Moving along, new public hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by D&A Lunenburg LLC for construction of a stormwater management system within the 50 and 100-foot buffer zone, but outside of the 30-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetative wetland located at Electric Ave and Pierce Avenue. Do we have the owners or their representative here with us tonight? Oh, and I'm not hearing anything.
Mary, when I first came on, I didn't have the ability to talk.
I changed that, Chris.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Yeah, thank you. So I do expect members of the public and the various homeowners to be able to unmute themselves and talk. And let me just test that, Greg. Can you confirm that you have the ability to talk?
Testing.
Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Okay, so we'll move along. We'll hold this open to at least until we get to the end of the continued public hearings. Sophia, we did expect these guys here tonight, right? They didn't ask for a continuation or anything.
No, they didn't request a continuation.
Okay, and they knew they were going to be on tonight's agenda. They must have because they paid for the legal ads, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And they just dropped off their checks for the fees today. So
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. Very good. We'll move on to the next one. Again, we're holding that one open. We'll close it and I'll depend on my trusted commission and administrator to help me close that one out before we get into the business section. Okay, moving on. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Christopher Coffin for removal of a deteriorating pressure-treated railroad tie wall with a replacement by continuing an existing Graves recon wall in its place on the shore of Lake Shirley located at 701 Reservoir Road. And do we have the homeowner and or their representative here with us tonight?
Hi, I am here, Christopher Coffin.
Hi, Christopher. Do you let's see, we're not doing participant sharing tonight. Sophia, can you share with us his site plans and whatnot?
We have that disabled. I think you have to allow me to.
Just 1 minute. Okay, try now. Okay, Christopher, why don't you walk us through what it is that you want to do here?
Okay, so yeah, as you could see, this is the proposed one that I'm hoping to get passed through, is just take the wall that's there, and because I'm using blocks, I'm just squaring it off. There's a one that shows that they're kind of at an angle originally on each corner. So I just squaring it off and replacing the railroad tie with one block and a capper just to get it to the height of the loom, and bringing it right around to where the wall was. Um, the 22 feet is a spot that has all trees that are getting ready to fall in. So we're just hoping to just put the wall in front of those to save the trees to help out with keeping the water. There's a lot of fish beds there, like in the summertime, so I just don't want to lose those trees for them.
Okay, so the goal there is to actually preserve the trees. You're not
Correct.
planning on
Yeah,
taking
I do
any
not
out?
want to cut any trees down.
Okay. And what is the height of the wall? The current height of the wall?
Um, from the bed of, like, we'll say from the dirt when the water's there to the loom is about 18 inches. There we go.
Okay, very good. Oh, and it's fairly consistent around the perimeter there that you're
Yes,
doing
correct.
the work?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then it looked like all this work is proposed to be done during lake drawdown?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I'll open the floor to other members of the commission. People are particularly quiet tonight.
Mary,
Hi, Mike.
just getting my hand raised here. Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let everyone know that Jen and I did do the site walk on Saturday, and it looks pretty straightforward of a project, replacing some definitely old railroad ties to something that is new. And Chris was very good about saying about, leaving all the vegetation, and by changing the wall, it looks like it will probably preserve some of the vegetation that is on the lake, which is a good idea. So I thought it was well thought out and looks like it would be a benefit to the lake.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Jenny.
So I want to say I agree with what Mike said. And also, so I was out there too. And then I was talking to Sophie about this yesterday. We were looking at so it looked like there's some notes in the DEP filing, and that they had asked him to say that there was going to be an impact on the bank. And it looks like you did refile that form with the correct information, right? Christopher?
Yes, I believe we did do that correct the
Yeah,
second time.
it's all correct here now in the filing. So I just want to make sure we have everything
Yeah.
that they had asked for. So it all looks good here. I don't know if anyone else wants to look at it too. It's in the OpenGov. But that was my only question.
Thank you, Jenny. I was just reading the DEP comments. I saw that we didn't have a DEP number, so we're not going to be able to close out tonight. Christopher, just so you're aware, we actually have to get the DEP number before we can close the project or render a decision on the project.
Okay.
But they're usually pretty prompt as long as you've answered all of their questions that they put in the notes.
All right. So then I'd have to come back to another meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't see any other raised hands. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? And I'm not seeing any. Sophia, did you have any other comments that you wanted to make or recommendation based on your site walk?
I think just getting a nothing on the walk itself, but definitely getting more information about the dimensions of how deep they will be putting the crushed stone, and how wide around all the blocks. That would be good to know.
I think that's an excellent idea. Christopher, I think that's an easy note to add to want to amend to one of your existing drawings and just give back to Sophie.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking like 6 inches. So I'll put that on the plans and resubmit that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Christopher, again, as long as you've already answered everything for DEP, they're pretty prompt. So the next meeting is November 6th. Should be okay with us continuing to then, as we're not able to actually deliberate on this until we have a DEP number.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to continue to November 6th.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Chris. Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
I skipped Jeff,
Aye.
and I for myself. We'll see you again, Christopher on November 6th.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, to continued, public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131 and Section 40 as amended of the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing for a notice of intent by Daniel Hernandez, represented by Dillis and Roy Civil Engineering Group, for the purpose of a garage addition, removal of vegetation, and structural renovations to an existing single-family dwelling. The proposed work is within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetative wetland and a 200-foot riparian zone of an intermittent stream at 48 Island Road. So do we have the applicant and or their representative here with us tonight?
Madam Chair, Greg Roy, here representing the applicant. I can't see the full screen, so I'm not sure if my client is here or not, but
I think you were actually one of the people that was rudely interrupted by the problems last week. My apologies.
well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I haven't been, we've had other people in our office have bouts of that in other towns, but I haven't had the privilege of that yet. So anyway. So with your permission, I'll get started.
Yes, please.
I understand I can't share my screen this evening. Is that the case?
I might be able to allow you to share. Hang on. Okay, try now, Greg.
All right. Let's see, how's that?
Okay,
I'm not at my desk, so I'm having single screen woes here, so bear with me here. I'm trying.
I've got a lot of sympathy for you on that.
Okay, here we go. Okay, Greg Roy with Dillson Roy. I am representing the applicant, the Hernandez family, as you indicated, for the project on Island Road. We opened this meeting a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to consider that a little bit of a wash. So I'll go over the whole deal again here just to rehash. The property is located at 48 Island Road. It's shown here in heavy black outline. There's a bordering vegetated wetland in the northeasterly corner of the site. Right here. All of this is wet. And then there is a perennial stream that traverses through the property, which is shown in blue, right like that. So those two resource areas have an associated 100-foot buffer zone associated with the wetland, bordering vegetated wetland, and a 200-foot riverfront area associated with the upper bank of the perennial stream. The entirety of the site is located within the 100-foot buffer zone, which is shown here in this line right here. The limit of the 50-foot zone is shown here, and the limit of the 30-foot zone is shown here. The riverfront area, again, is completely encompasses the site. The inner 100-foot riparian zone is this blue line right here. But the 200-foot is off the page, so to speak. So the entirety of the site is located within the riverfront area. The applicant is proposing to make some modifications to the property. The house is fairly run down. So they're looking to do some structural modifications to the foundation. The areas shown in red are portions of the existing house that are actually going to be removed. So in the case of this one back here, it's a shed more or less that has been tacked on to the edge of the structure. They're going to be taking that off. There's a bump out here in the back that's going to be taken off, and then this bump out here is essentially going to be removed and replaced essentially in the same location. The two new portions of the two new additions will be proposed both on the front of the property. One will be to construct a new 2-car garage, which is shown right here. And the second would be to construct a small breezeway entranceway that's shown in this small rectangular box right here. Both of those are located within the footprint of the existing driveway, so will not result in any additional impervious area on the property. And then there are plans to do a few tree removals on the site. Last week, we actually proposed 5 trees to be removed. Since then, we've revised the plan to eliminate 3 of those. So we were intending to remove the 2 trees here. Let me see if I can highlight those. We're intending to remove this tree and this tree. We've since revised the plan to keep those trees. We're also planning to remove this tree, and we've also identified that to be saved as well. So we're really only proposing the 2 trees that are circled in red. This tree here, which is I can't even tell you what that is. I'm not sure what the size of that tree is, and then this tree right in this location here. We also are proposing to put a retaining wall. There's a slope that slopes from this low to high as you go towards the property line. So we're proposing to put a retaining wall in here. Previous iterations had this up along the property line, which would have resulted in the removal of all 3 of these trees. We have since rethought that idea and have moved that retaining wall closer to the house to provide a minimum amount of clearance between the existing and proposed portions of the house and that that area just to relax the grade, get some better drainage in there so that the runoff doesn't flow back down into the house as has been happening, I think, historically and causing some of the issues with the foundation. So the proposal, with all of those revisions, now complies and is less than the 5,000 square feet of riverfront alteration. As you look at that from a Wetlands Protection Act performance standard, which was one of the DEP comments that we wanted to make sure we addressed before we came before you this evening. So essentially, we've modified the plan since it was previously submitted to reduce the amount of overall land disturbance on the site to below the 5,000 square foot threshold. We have also included a riverfront area alteration summary on the plan to document those metrics to make sure we're in compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act on that front. I think I will leave it at that, Madam Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Greg. My question is, what is the purpose of removing the tree that's on the kind of the top side outside of the limit of work?
Yeah, so it's pretty, so this plan maybe doesn't do it justice with the symbol there, but it's pretty close to the house. And where it's outside of the 50-foot, it's right on the edge of that 50-foot buffer zone. They really would like to take that so that it doesn't further threaten the house.
Okay. I had the opportunity to walk out there. It didn't seem like it was all that close to me, and it is in the inner riparian zone, which in my mind means that it should be protected. But I'm only one vote. So then in all other areas, I also note that that's tree removal is outside what's established as the limit of work, and outside of what would be the disturbance area as well. So is it safe to assume there are no other alterations anticipated outside of the limit of work or in that inner riparian zone, or are there other alterations that are proposed?
No other alterations. Matter of fact, the septic system exists over in that area. The squiggly line here, that's sort of a rectangular in shape, is the location of the existing leaching system. That has passed the Title V inspection, so there is no proposed changes in that location. That tree is very close to the leaching area. So I think that might be another reason why they really like to take it down. But it's in your prerogative. If that's something the commission doesn't find approvable, that's your prerogative.
And for my just for my benefit, Greg, I know you do this as a living, and those of us on the commission are under a 3-year volunteer appointment. The septic field is not included as a disturbance in the inner riparian zone. Seems like on the surface it would be.
We didn't include it. It's been there a long time, and it's essentially, I think you've been to the site. It's not really part of the improved area at the moment, if you will.
I thought, though, that the way the Riverfront Act was written, the total disturbance area is the total disturbance area. It's not what you're disturbing new. It's the total disturbance area. Again, I'm asking a question from somebody who does this, as a living.
Yeah, well, it's more difficult to make those type of analyses on a pre-existing site, especially one that's very small like this, where you have the entire portion of the property within the riverfront area. So I don't know. Quite frankly, you could probably look at that two different ways. We looked at this in terms of what areas of the site are disturbed with more or less hardscape. So the existing house, the driveway, and sort of bona fide improved areas, if you will. And then we added in the area that we're proposing to disturb, although that'll be the softscape portion on the left-hand side or upgrading side of the house where we're proposing the retaining wall, which really and truly is a pretty, at this point, modest size change, really not intended to create additional usable space at this point, really just intended to make sure that the structure is protected at a minimal level from ongoing runoff. So, you know, I don't know. I guess it's a little bit of a gray area there with respect to the septic system, but
Well, I understand gray areas and regulations. I mean, as you know, read regulations all day, every day, but
yeah,
mine are
yeah.
more in the, electronic, conformity assessment, kind of, perspective. But yeah, all regulations have gray areas that are inherent. So I respect that. Thanks. Thanks for the response, Greg. Do we have, questions or comments from members of the commission? I have not seen, oh, I have one raised hand. Jeff,
Yeah, Greg, and with that tree next to the septic system, would that be actually a good idea to take that down so it doesn't encroach into the septic system and actually fail it in future years?
it's
That's just
it's
in my
already a
experience.
huge tree, Jeff. It's a very
Oh,
mature
is it?
tree. Oh, yeah.
Is it?
The fact that
Okay.
it passed Title V already, I mean, it's a big tree.
So what do you think in your opinion, Greg?
Well, we don't like to see trees that close to the system.
No.
You know, it's not impacting, our office didn't do the Title V inspection, so I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look at the D-box myself, but obviously it didn't meet any failure criteria. But you know, that doesn't mean that it won't in the future.
Okay.
You know, it's not, I guess I'll answer your question this way. It's not ideal to have a tree that close to the leaching field. Do we see it? Yeah, we see it from time to time, but it's not it's not a perfect, it's not the best case scenario.
Okay. So I mean, it really could be feeding off of that
Well,
leach field,
yeah, well, it almost certainly
essentially.
is. Yeah, it almost
And
certainly is. Yeah, yeah, from a from a biology standpoint, it's probably great for the tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
So
too good for the septic system. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And then is this going to be a knockdown and rebuild or just in addition of that garage?
No, just in addition. So they're going to do some work on the foundation. The foundation needs some help in quite a bit of the area. So they're going to replace and beef up the foundation under the existing house. But really the only addition, if you will, they're not tearing down the house. They're gonna renovate it in place and then add on the garage and the breezeway.
Okay. And then what is the setback for building a structure from road? It
Yeah,
looks like it's
thank you. Yeah, we actually did receive zoning relief on that from the zoning
Okay.
board of appeals already. So we did
Okay.
The setback is actually 40 feet. And we did receive a dimensional variation from the
okay.
zoning
So
board
you
of
already have
appeals.
approval for that.
We do, yes.
Okay. Those are my only
Thank you.
questions. Thanks, Greg. Yep.
Thank you, Jeff. Mike. Oh, Mike, you're still on mute.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I just wanted to give a shout out to that. I know it's close to the septic system, but it's a magnificent specimen of a sugar maple. The applicant may want to think about maybe tapping it in the wintertime for maple syrup. The fact that it's been there so long and it has not compromised the septic system, perhaps that's a good sign. So that's all I wanted to point out.
Thank you,
And if-
Mike. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Just in, because trees can't talk, so I'm trying to talk for the tree. So that's just my my input into perhaps trying to save it.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thanks.
Sophia?
I just wanted to agree with Mike's commenting, and I do have a question though. If a tree of that magnitude were to be removed from that close proximity to a system like that, how would that be done without damaging the system?
I think
Excellent
they'd have
question.
to leave the
Yeah,
root ball in place.
Yeah,
Greg?
we'd leave the root ball. They may grind the stump in place. You know, just to get it down below grade, but you would, in this case, we would not recommend mechanical removal of the root mass.
Okay.
Thank you, Sophia. Do we have questions or comments from members of the public? Okay. I did not hear the commission ask for any additional materials or clarifications. Does that mean we're ready to make a let's see, there is a DEP number on this, right?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
We can get it out of your hair if you're so inclined. And let me just say that I'm not going to, we're going to let the commission decide what they will on the tree. I'd rather, we obviously want to remove it, but if you find that it's not, that you're not inclined to grant that, then we're happy to accept that as a condition.
Thank you, Greg. So I think I'm looking for a motion to approve this with the exception of the tree that is annotated. I want to keep the tree that's annotated outside of the annotated for removal that's outside of the limit of work as shown on the drawing. Anybody willing to make that motion?
So moved?
Do we have a second? Thank you, Mike and Jenny. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm just catching up my own notes here. Give me a second. Okay. One thing that I'll note, Jenny, you have your hand up?
So we had a couple people come in after we continued the first hearing, and I didn't know if we wanted to see if they're here now or.
Okay,
I wanna wait till
we
the
can
end.
do that. Yeah, thanks for having the presence of mind and bringing that up. And I also want to note that somebody is logged in under just a phone number 978-549-6369. Can you unmute yourself and state your name and address, please?
They were one of the ones that came in. That I was.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. My name is Danny Hernandez, 68 Weathervane Drive. Sorry, I thought I was unmuted this whole time. I'm the owner of the property at 48 Island Drive.
Okay. Okay, and the only reason why I am asking you that is because we had some problems last week, right? So, just.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it looks like maybe you're just on phone anyway, but, I just wanted to make certain that we're, doing what we can to eliminate mischief this week. So thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I
Thank you for
understand.
speaking up.
No worries, and thank you guys for moving to approve.
Our pleasure. Okay, did we have the residents of Electric Ave and Pierce Ave come into the meeting? It looks like DNA Lunenburg LLC. And I'm not hearing anybody, so we're gonna move on. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation by Kevin O'Brien at 390 Howard Street. Do we have Mr. O'Brien here with us tonight?
You do.
Very good. Thank you for showing up. What is the latest status of this project?
Tomorrow I am meeting with Chuck Karen and Art Allen. They're going over the delineation that Chuck did. We're gonna discuss that tomorrow to make sure we're all on the same page. And then what I will do is I will have Haley Wood go out there and pick up the flags, and I will present those to you, hopefully for the next meeting if that's possible.
Okay. And when we last spoke, there was some discussion about soil moving out in that project area and the need to install erosion controls. Has that been done?
That was under the violations. We did go out there on a sidewalk. Mike, sorry, Mike, I don't remember your last name. Sophie and myself, and Chuck Karen went out there. The areas that she was concerned with was out in the back of the property where erosion runs. It's not near any wetlands. I'm sure eventually it goes to wetlands, but we did walk. We got our steps in that day, the four of us. We did not find a violation. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but that's what we, Sophie had asked me if I could put, just put a stone, big stones in those erosion areas just to slow the water flow down. But I'd rather she say agrees with me or disagrees with me, just so we can get this off our plate, because I don't think there's a violation out there.
Sophia, is that consistent with your own observations?
Somewhat. I did indicate that the erosion was starting all the way at the top and kind of snowballing down to where there is a wetland buffer, and it seemed like there was sedimentation at one point, whether it's current or a little bit in the past. There is some sedimentation going into the wetland on the side that we were looking at, further into the woods, almost on the other, basically up to the stone wall bordering the other property. But I did indicate that the erosion needs to be fixed regardless, and it is up to the applicant to figure out how to do that.
Okay. And so then, yeah, well, I guess I'll ask Chris about your observations. I think you were out there with Sophia that day.
Yes, I agree with Sophie. So what we saw was there was the water was picking up speed, and when it got down to the rock wall area that Sophie's talking about, it started making a really deep, I would call it a ravine or a gorge down there. But to the point now that it's so deep, I don't think it's gonna get rock. It's not gonna make it past the rock wall. When it did breach the wall, there was some sediment running into the woods. But I think we all agreed on that walk that if we make some breaker bars just to slow the flow down, we would prevent that from happening or mitigate it a little bit. So that was our, Sophia agrees. I think that was what we had said.
Okay, so then Kevin, what I'm hearing is that there were actions, that you were asked to take. Do you believe that you've taken those actions now?
Well, I was on the last meeting that unfortunately you guys had a little glitch with. That's what I want to make sure that we're all on the same page before I go out there and do anything. If we put that rock in that culvert area for the erosion to slow that flow, I don't have a problem doing that, but I just want to make sure that's what we're going to do. We have no wetlands erosion control that needs to be done. I think the rock, what we're agreeing to, I'm agreeing to do in the rocks, but I want to make sure that the board is on board with what we're saying.
And not having a drawing in front of me, I have a hard time, kind of saying one way or the other.
Let me try to restate that, Mary. What I'm
Okay.
trying to convey is, if you've ever been on a trail that goes down, slopes downhill, there's
I'm real familiar with the property, Chris, right? And I'm real familiar also. I've walked it.
No, I'm not talking about the property. I'm trying to talk about what I want it to be put in. On a typical trail that has water issues, they put in periodic areas where the water gets directed off the trail, and we were talking about that to slow the water down. There was nothing preventing the water from picking up speed, and it was just racing. So what Kevin and I, Sophia and Chuck talked about was putting in rocks to slow the flow down, so it's not flowing at full speed when it gets down to that rock wall. That's what I'm trying to convey.
Yeah, and I think that's consistent with what Kevin's saying. He just doesn't want any gotchas, and I think my hesitation is that when I was out there last, which was in the spring, I believe, there were wetlands, a small intermittent stream crossing down in that area, and so in my mind, that does put a wetland in proximity to some of these areas that we're talking about.
But we walked down to that area. I'm sorry, Chris, I called you by your wrong name. We did walk down to those two crossing areas and there was no erosion down there. Again, that's my opinion and that's the way I understood the conversation. It was further back up the road that goes down the back of the property where we talked about putting these dams, essentially they're dams to slow the flow down. And as we talked about that erosion, that the areas that the water runs in now is eroded. It's got 3-foot gullies in some places that, and we don't think the water's going up over it anymore. It might have gone over it before and flowed onto, off what would be considered the road area onto the lot areas. But we again, I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I thought we all agreed that that was not going to be the issue going forward. But if we can go upstream, let's call it, or uphill, not upstream, but uphill, and put these dams in those erosion areas out in the back of the property, we thought it would slow that down.
That was my understanding as well.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and Kevin, you understand per Sophie's advice that the expectation is you would keep that soil from eroding moving forward too, because you're on site and actually managing the property.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I see Jeff has his hand raised. Jeff.
Yes, Kevin, just to refresh my memory, what is your plan for this parcel and when do you expect to start construction?
Unknown. Sorry, that's not a very good answer, but I'm not sure. We have to get this delineation redone again, so we know where we're at. And then I'm going to start working on some type of plan to decide how I'm going to move forward with the property.
Okay. Because I mean, if something's not done within, I think the next couple of years, it's gonna start to develop even more wetlands. So
It would,
then you're gonna have to have another delineation done. And I
exactly.
mean, plants are gonna start to grow and you're gonna start to, I think that ravine will probably eventually build into maybe a brook or a stream, but who knows?
Which is one of the problems we have now. Some of the areas that Chuck went out and reflagged. And Art's gonna look at when we get out there tomorrow, that has happened to, you know, areas that were burned or water got to, and then the water sat there. Thinking that was great because, you know, the water wasn't, you know, blowing out over the hills and going into, fortunately, or further down the hill to wetlands. Has created another problem in some cases. It has created other wetlands, so.
Okay.
That's one of the things.
So
Yeah.
once you get this delineation done and you're gonna have some kind of plan, I mean, otherwise, I would just say cap it and start planting so that we don't have this issue in the future, and maybe put in some kind of stormwater management system. But I mean, we just can't let this parcel sit for much longer and just keep eroding away.
That's true. I can't either.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Good comments, Jeff. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? Sophia.
Just for clarification purposes, do we establish a deadline for this to be corrected?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think when we had last discussed this project, we had expected there to be the water movement to be corrected within 2 weeks. Do we have any, Kevin, would you be able to accomplish that?
I would probably have it, I could probably have it done before the next meeting.
Okay. And I guess because we're talking about a 2-week expectation on this, I'll look for a motion from my members of the commission and a second.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second, by Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Jenny?
I can't vote on this one.
You can't, can you? Very good. Jeff?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I for myself. Okay. And then we'll expect an update from you at the November 6th meeting, Kevin?
Yes, that is correct. And hopefully at that point, we will have plans for the delineation at that point. That's what we're hoping for anyway.
Okay, very good. So I'm also now looking for a motion to continue this hearing to November 6th.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you, Kevin.
Madam Chair, thank you for taking me out of order. I know you jumped ahead. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no issue. Moving along, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Robin Jacobs for the relocation of a previously approved arborvitae bushes and the replacement of a pre-existing vinyl fence located at Hickory Hills Lake at 372 Townsend Harbor Road. Do we have Robin Jacobs here with us tonight?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Thank you. Do you just want to give us a high-level summary of your project? I think probably everybody remembers, but just a summary to reorient ourselves and differentiate from the last project would be nice.
Sure. Sophie has the latest drawing that you guys had requested from me in the last meeting. And I also got a letter from the building department on their letterhead with the regulations for fences. And the drawing that Sophie has is all within those specifications from the building department. Basically, with anything within the 30 foot that's not the most recent drawing. The most recent one has the colored, the green and red. Anything within the 30 foot, you would ask to do split rail, and outside of that, we could go with the 6 foot fencing, and that is shown here on this map.
Okay. Let's see. High vinyl fencing. Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, I was getting oriented with it. I
Yeah, this is
understand.
this map is a little upside down. Actually, if it was just flipped over, it would.
Yeah, it's fine. I just had to orient myself with where the water line was and where I mean, at least it's fine for me. I look at drawings a lot. Are you proposing to put in arborvitae in all of the locations of the green dots?
Yes, eventually.
Okay, so by giving us a drawing that shows that there, the expectation is it would be done within 3 years of, if we grant you approval. Is that what you intend to convey to us or commit to us?
Yes.
Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. I'm sneezing a lot tonight. Okay, I just want to make certain that's clear because not everybody is aware that when they give us a drawing with the vegetation that's a commitment to have that work done within 3 years. Okay, and I think that answers the questions and concerns that I had in the note in my notes from previously. So to my fellow commissioners, do you have other questions and or comments about the proposed project? And I am seeing none. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? And I am seeing none. Okay, I think I am looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Mike?
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a second from Jenny. Okay, thank you. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, 372. Again, just catching up my own notes. Okay. Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Steve Powell for the construction of a single-family and associated site work at 171 Arbor Street. Do we have Steve Powell and or his representative here on the call tonight?
Good, Brian Marchetti here, McCarty Engineering.
Hi, Brian.
How are you?
I am doing well.
Excellent.
Do you want to give us an update or go
Yep.
over the project again with us?
Yes.
Where are you guys at? It's been a while.
It has. So I do have plans and everything else too, if I am able to share my screen tonight.
Hang on just a minute. Let me go to
Sure.
that.
Yep. But in the meantime, I can explain why we've been delayed for so long. Back when we filed the notice of intent, we had filed concurrently with the National Heritage Endangered Species Program. There was a priority habitat line that did cross onto our site. As part of that review with Mesa, they required a habitat assessment. So we had LEC Environmental do a habitat assessment. In their assessment, they did find evidence of the Blandings turtle on a portion of the property. So they required us to go through several rounds of review to revise our design. If you recall, in the middle of this property, 50 years ago, there was gravel that was excavated out of it. So there's about an acre section in the center of the site that is very sandy. There's no vegetation. Turns out it's habitat for nesting for turtles. So eggshells were found during the habitat assessment. So we filed, I believe, back in, call it September last year, about a year ago. We spent for 3 or 4 months revising our design concurrently with the reviewer with National Heritage Endangered Species Program. We finally came to an agreed layout that he was happy with. And then he issued basically us a letter or an email saying, we're good with the design. Now you can proceed with local permitting in order to obtain your order of conditions in your site plan review, everything you need from planning and conservation before the Endangered Species Program finishes their final review. So they've blessed this plan. We ended up taking the project, which was a 4-lot subdivision. So it was a full width subdivision roadway. There were 4 house lots. There was stormwater infrastructure in the streets. We had a detention basin out in the back, which happened to be right where that sandy excavated area was. And what we did was we found a much less impactful development to basically get exactly out of it what we wanted before. When we were doing a conventional subdivision, we were maxed out at 4 lots. Once NESHAP determined there was Blandings turtle, we revised the design for a 3-lot subdivision. But in the meantime, at town meeting last year, the town approved a common drive that can serve up to 4 lots. So what we did was, instead of a subdivision, we designed this or redesigned it as a 3-lot common driveway. So it's significantly less impactful than the previous application. Or the previous
Brian, you can share now.
Okay. Let me all right. So this clear that. So there's our presentation plan. So this was the 4-lot subdivision that was previously designed, and what we had moved forward with permitting with both planning and conservation. You can see the shaded area here was the area of our impact within the 100-foot buffer zone. So in total, we had it's right up here, 63, so almost 64,000 square feet of buffer zone. In order to revise the plan to the common driveway plan, which is what you see here, we had to actually take 11 feet of this neighbor's frontage. So John Rodnott actually approached us, and we worked concurrently to figure out this plan. you know, he really wanted us to minimize the amount of impact and minimize the amount of tree removal that was going to happen around his lot. And his lot was actually non-conforming with lot area and lot width through a building, but it was an existing non-conforming lot. So we worked out a plan. If I could get 11 feet of frontage from him, I was able to create 3 lots to get a common driveway to serve 3 lots. And what we did here in trade is we gave him a full 50-foot buffer in the back, which is 17,460 something square feet. So this land was now combined with his lot. So now it got rid of his nonconformity with respect to lot area. So zoning board of appeals approved it and granted us a special permit to further reduce his lot width through the building. So he was non-conforming with lot width through the building and lot area. But now after we gave him this land as part of this deal, he's now conforming with respect to area. So the special permit was granted. So now I can come back to you here with a permittable plan. There's a significant reduction in buffer zone impact. In total, we were at 68,000 square feet of impact. We're now with this plan up at, you can see in this area here, it's 16,000 and there's 2,000 over here. So we went from about 67,000 to 18,000 square feet of impact within the buffer zone. This plan, like I said, this has been, you know, blessed by National Heritage Endangered Species. Back in January, they gave us an email basically stating that they're good with our design. They had a couple of conditions that we're going to have to impose on the property. One being the split rail fence. So if I go back to, these are the permit plans that we filed with the notice of intent. You can see the split rail fence in the backyard here. There's also a split rail fence over here that runs the full length of our impact. So you can see here with the grading, we're cutting through here to grade, but we're installing the split rail fence. That's one of the conditions from NESHAP. The other condition of NESHAP is we need to put a deed restriction. So up at the top of our slope, a limit of our disturbance here, which you see the grading. Through this limit, we're going to have a deed restriction that's going to be, you know, in perpetuity recorded with these lots, that no further impact or encroachment will be allowed. As well as on this lot here, in agreement with the neighbor, this whole finger, it's a 50-foot reduced width frontage. This area within here also has to be left naturally vegetated. There are big mature pine trees in there. So there's a deed restriction that's going to be put on that lot as well, that this can't be. So overall, you can see where we no longer have a 4-lot subdivision. We have 3 lots on a common drive setup, and the buffer zone impact again has been limited from 68,000 square feet down to about 18,000 square feet. So I think I did. This was the email. I'd sent this to Sophie today for record. This was the email from Nick Galico with Fish and Wildlife. So he's the endangered species analyst. So he's with National Heritage Endangered Species Program. He's a review biologist. And what I circled here in red is what his final direction to us was. So as the final lot configuration will be subject to planning approval, possibly ZBA. It will also require a Conservation Commission, approval by Conservation Commission. We hold off on completing the MESA review until review approved and recorded site plan order of conditions. That way, any changes that are made to the site plan during the local permitting process can be reflected on the final plans that the division reviews. So now we've come back. We've got the first step was the ZBA. We needed that in order to get our planning board approval. And now that we've minimized our disturbance down to where we're at, we're here for our order of conditions. So we filed concurrently with planning and conservation. So we're hoping that the commission votes positively for this project for the order, and then, you know, we still have our planning board meetings forthcoming. In the planning board, the approvals we need now is for a special permit for common drive and stormwater permit. And this site here is very conducive to infiltration. It is all sand. So we've designed these lots, natural grading to pea-stone diaphragms and rain gardens on each individual lot. So these highlighted areas here, shaded areas, are rain gardens on each property. And there's along the edge of the roadway, there's a pea-stone diaphragm, which is like a crushed stone gravel that will both infiltrate runoff and convey it to the rain garden.
So where the sand pit currently exists,
Yep.
will that remain, or are you filling in there, or?
No, that's within this. Let's see how I can draw.
I think the gray lines versus the dark lines are sort of overwhelming me a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So this whole limit of disturbance, the dark line is what our proposed grading is. And then our erosion control starts here. Oops, sorry, my mouse just skipped. There will be a deed restriction on these lots that everything on this side of the red line has to remain in its natural state in perpetuity forever. So everything you can see, this whole area right here is the little gravel pit where the turtles have been nesting. So
Okay.
turtles come up out of the wetland, they come up over the hill, down into the pit, lay their eggs.
I'm
and they go-
surprised they can get back up over that lip. I barely could.
Yeah, it's pretty steep. They can walk around it too, but this whole area has to remain undeveloped and can't be touched. And they're requiring both a deed restriction and some demarcation. So underneath this line here, you can see they required a split rail fence down to about here on the property, and then a split rail fence in the backyard here. They don't require the split rail fence to go up slopes, and on the top of slope, it really doesn't make sense because that's all right now that's vegetating along the slope line. So when this is done, so right here, you can see they're requiring this deed restriction. So it's a declaration restriction template they gave us. That's going to have to be coordinated and done in conjunction with National Heritage Endangered Species. It's going to be part of their approval.
And then the split rail fence, where is the condition on the split rail fence?
Let's see here. So we have attached sketch, possible configurations line. Let's see. It's in a different folder. Let me find it. I have it.
And Brian, one of the reasons why I'm kind of dialing into that detail is that when I've talked to Melanie Cheeseman in NHESP before, she's asked us to consider adopting as conditions the same conditions that NHESP has implemented, of course, within our jurisdictional areas.
Okay.
And I am also mindful of, you know, physical barriers being there in perpetuity, and split rail fences last, but don't last forever.
Yep. So you can see here between this black line and this black line. So split rail fence in the backyard. And then on this property, between this line here, the black dot, down to here. So this is the sketch directly from Nicolaico.
And we have that also in our, you've sent that, the sketch to Sophia?
If I didn't, I will. But this These dots here are the next part of his description. This is where we're gonna have to create a plan, an open space plan. That's part of the deed restriction. So the deed restriction is gonna reference physical monuments. So we'll have to set bounds along this limit that clearly defines a hard line. That's part of the open space.
Okay.
So they're pretty thorough. They're pretty, inclusive, and let us know early that we're going to have all these restrictions that are going to be finalized as part of their final review. So, and whatever is not in your order, they will have in theirs. So, but this email I did share with Sophia today. And then the turtle protection plan, that's part of construction. This needs to be implemented before construction starts.
When are you proposing to start work on that property?
We were hoping to a year ago. So
Yeah.
as soon as we get through conservation and planning, the main goal is to get everything in and done and start by April. Because you can see right here, April 1st is when I guess the deadline for the nesting. So if we don't start construction and have our own fence up before the nesting season starts, anytime we're on site, they're going to have to do a sweep. So we'll have to have, National Heritage will require us to have a biologist do a sweep of the construction area.
Oh, okay. So
and
if you
that's-
can get the fence up prior to
Yes.
April 1st, then you can avoid that. Okay.
Regardless of whether we have permits in hand, there will be a fence up before April 1st. Because it's the quote we got from our biologist was the minimum 4-hour inspection, and that's at least once a week, I believe is what it was.
Ouch.
And that's for the duration of the construction. I believe it's April through.
April through October or something.
Yeah, it's a long time. So, $500 a week or plus for that duration just doesn't make sense. So.
Okay. And what are you using for erosion controls?
So it's straw wattle and silt fence.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the straw wattle silt fence detail.
And then take us back to the oh yeah, very good. So to the drawing, the other drawing of the site that you had showed us.
A comparison?
Well, I think I was mostly, I'm a tree person. That
Yep.
came out the last time.
Mm.
But yeah, I was interested in where your limit of work, there's not going to be any tree work done outside of the limit of work, or there
No.
will be?
There will not. So everywhere
Okay.
you see the dark lines here, those are
Mhm.
topography, that's our grading. That's the
Okay.
approved limit that NESHAP is basically allowing us to grade. I wasn't aware of before this process, but the habitat line ran about here. So
Mhm.
just this little finger of the property was in habitat according
Mhm.
to the mapped line. If an analysis is done and habitat is found on the property, the entire boundary of your property, whether it's in habitat or not, is now considered within habitat. So,
Okay.
so Natural Heritage had a say in everything else we did on the property, as
Okay.
opposed to just within the habitat line that's mapped.
That's
So-
interesting. We learn something new every day.
Yep, certainly do. So everywhere you see the dark lines is going to be where we're impacting.
Okay.
Everything outside of that, so everything within here is all going to remain natural. Up beyond here and all through here is going to remain naturally habitat.
Okay. I think that actually answers all of the questions that I had had before. So I don't have any further questions. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the commission? Chris?
Yeah, I just want to say that I like the way you resolved the issue of the turtles and with the neighbor. I think was really good, a good resolution. And I like the way you decided to change the amount of housing from 4 to 3. I just think it was, all in all, it was a good decision, good solution. Really happy with what you're proposing here.
Good, thank you. You know, it's, as an engineer, we deal all the time with abutters. You know, it's, nobody wants stuff to happen in their backyard. And I get it, I understand it, but, you know, the cold hard facts is they don't own the property and everybody has a right to do what they have on their property within, you know, within their rights and what's allowed. And it's very refreshing when a neighbor approaches you and actually proposes, you know,
Yeah.
I'll help you out if you help me out. And-
Yeah,
and
it was a great,
Yeah.
I really liked the story, so I was happy.
Yeah, it's a good, it's a good narrative.
Yeah, it took us a long time and, you know, he was very willing to scratch our back if we scratched his and, you know, we had to, you know, we're doing more on his property as well. He wanted us to leave some trees and,
Yeah,
you know, we have to do something with the septic system and we're helping him out. So it's a good story.
Yeah.
Really.
Nice job. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? And I'm seeing none. Okay. So, again, being mindful of the, NHESP advice to us, what I saw, within our jurisdictional area, for, NHESP conditions were split rail fence, to be maintained in perpetuity, along the barrier shown in the drawing. And then, no disturbance past the split rail fence demarcation on lots 1 and 2, as additional orders of condition.
And if I can, I just want to clarify, the split rail fence is not along this entire red limit. It's just as
Oh,
shown.
yeah, but that red limit isn't in the drawing that you submitted to us, right?
Correct, no.
Okay. And if you remove that red, Brian, where the split rail fence would be clear, I think, yes?
Yes,
Okay. And that's a fair comment, so I'm glad you spoke up.
Yeah,
I
I
do
didn't know I could clear it. So the split rail is here in the backyard of lot 2, and then
Mhm.
it starts here at the basin.
Okay,
So here at the basin, it runs up to the limit of the property line, or just short of the property line at the bottom of the slope.
okay, very good. And then, also, Brian, before, assuming, you know, the commission, approves going forward, before we would issue the order of conditions, I would like for you to ensure that you've sent that, NHESP sketch to Sophia as well, so she can
Absolutely. Yep.
add that to the file.
I can email that tonight.
Okay. And so do I have a motion, with those additional conditions? A motion to approve?
So moved by Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny, can you vote on this one?
I cannot.
Okay. Roll call vote, Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Great.
Thank you,
very much.
Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, circling back to Electric Ave and Pierce Ave. Did we have representatives for that project join us? And I'm not seeing anyone. So I would accept a motion to continue that that hearing to November 6th. And again, this is the first one that we read under the new public hearings for Electric Ave and Pierce Ave.
So moved, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote, Jenny,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, moving into the business section of our meeting tonight. Before we go to that, I have somebody dialed into our meeting that's identified as iPhone 85. Could you please unmute yourself and state your name and address? Hi, can you state?
Rhonda Lucia, 181 Reservoir Road.
Okay,
We're
thank
on the
you.
agenda. Thanks.
And I'm only asking you that for security reasons because we had some mischief last week. Okay, administrative determinations, Sophia 33 Birch Island Way.
Yep, so this one is fairly straightforward. I visited the site, and overall it's a partial tree removal request and limbing. And that would be within the resource area of a lake. And I think a visual would help with this. I'm not sure if the applicant is online and able to share, but I have that capability as well.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I haven't figured out how to orient
Rotate.
this. Yeah,
That's okay.
the way it was downloaded. So this is Hickory Hills Lake, and they're proposing this large tree to be limbed on this right side, because it's basically the limbs are parts of the limbs appear to be dead. Some are healthy, however, they're still very much over the garage. It's a very, very large tree. And then this next one is also hanging over the porch in the garage, and they're proposing to limb that one as well. And then moving along here on the edge. Oh, and I also forgot to note that right here they have the distance from where the tree is to the water line. So 3 feet, 5 feet, and then pruning this other tree here about 5 feet. Another pruning for 7 feet. Another pruning here for 5 and 6 feet. So this tree is actually close to the dock that they have. It is dead, and the arborist suggested to basically cut it down to, you know, a few feet above ground level. And then the next tree over here is 3 feet from the water line. This tree over here is 3 feet from the water line as well. And this one is basically overhanging a it's like a screened in type of gazebo little structure here. And at first they wanted to remove it, but they have decided to just prune the limbs that are hanging over the structure. So from my perspective, after kind of talking with them a little bit more about their decisions, and then revising the plan, I like this plan and it makes sense for what the lot is like. And yeah, I don't have any issues with how this is presented.
Okay, so I hear you're recommended to approve.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sophia. Do we have questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, Chris, please speak.
Sophia, can you confirm, you went through some trees, the 2 before the gazebo, are they being pruned? Or is that all they're being done is pruned? That's what it says in the notes.
That's correct.
Yeah, those 2. What's the disposition with those 2 trees?
They're just being pruned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. If there are no other questions or comments, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Second,
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
and I for myself. Okay. Moving along. Extension, request, 398 Sunset Lane. Sophia, what are they actually doing there?
I'm just trying to get my many pages of notes. 398 Sunset Lane. Okay, so sorry, I'll stop screen sharing. So for that one, they had some plantings being done, a lot of like landscaping and yard work. They've actually gone above and beyond on what the order called for plantings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no erosion or anything like that, and
That's
I don't have
excellent.
any concerns. And it's also the property that has the pervious boat launch or boat ramp. So all the plantings are healthy, trees are doing really well, and they actually have like a little white oak sapling. And I thought that was a nice touch that wasn't even part of the plan, but they added it, and it'd be nice to see it take off and be a huge oak like they typically do.
Excellent.
I think the applicant would like to say something.
Is that Gary Knoll with your hand raised?
Yes, Gary Kroll, 398 Sunset Lane. We're actually asking for the extension because our neighbors to the south at 406, we're going through a major renovation. You guys might remember it's the small little site right on the peninsula.
Mhm.
And they kind of needed our area over by the boat ramp and where our shed used to be. And we still needed to put the shed in, and knowing that we need to complete the as-built, we just wouldn't be able to get it done. They were using our area right up until about 2 to 3 weeks ago. So to get it done now before the end of the winter would be a real push.
Okay, understood. Thanks for that extra context. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Sophia, it sounds like you also recommend approving the extension request?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not seeing any other questions or comments from members of the commission, so I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote, Jenny,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, certificates of compliance. We've got a request for 564 Page Street.
Yes, so 564 Page Street was actually presented to me like I want to say several months ago, first time, and now it's coming back as another request. They had a wetland replication back in 2018, and based off of that wetland replication and the plan, and looking at what I found on the first visit was I want to say several weeks ago, there were some vegetation, hardwood and saplings noted on the plan that were not thriving and noticeably deceased. Since then, there has been a second visit, and that visit, the vegetation was replaced, and a couple other things like the blueberry bushes were the the overcrowding of grasses was cleared and it was mulched. So there have been some changes since my first visit. I am still waiting for an updated inspection from an environmental scientist. There was one inspection letter that we have on file from 2022. However, we haven't received anything since then. And I am hesitant and worried about approving something like this when we haven't had any updates from that specialist. And that's what I would like to see.
Do we have a commitment from the applicant to get the specialist out there and get us a report?
There is no commitment on that end. They said that if I felt strongly about having that handed over and completed, then they would do so.
Okay. And do you have a drawing to show
Madam
us? I would appreciate seeing that.
Madam Chair, this is Greg Roy. I'm representing the applicant.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for jumping in there.
So my understanding is we were retained by the previous owner of the property, which is Ialegio, who's since sold the property now, I think, in the last month or two to a new owner. But they hired us to get this thing. Their understanding was a plan was required, by an engineer, which they retained us to do, which we prepared, submitted. As Sophie indicated, there was some issues with the plantings, which
and to be clear, I saw photos of plants that had taped on.
Yeah, I have no
leaves.
idea. Yeah, I have no idea what the deal is with that, but
Yeah, I don't either, but that's
yeah,
concerning
yeah.
photos to see.
Yeah, but that's been corrected. So my understanding is, the previously firm that was retained, there's just no. Your office has what is available for inspection reports. So I guess that you may only have an inspection report from a number of years ago. There's nothing that we can produce from, I think it was Norris Environmental that was involved before us. We just don't know of any other documentation. So I guess I'm here to try to understand what we can do, what you need. Our office can provide whatever inspection reports you need. I mean, at this point, what's on the ground is what's on the ground. If you need us to put, something in writing, other than what we've produced on the plan, we can. But I guess just let me know.
Okay. So one thing I have a question about is this a wetland replication area or is
that's a great question. I have absolutely no idea. I found no documentation of any wetlands filling that was done or proposed or performed. So I have no idea why that is considered why that was proposed as mitigation. It just doesn't seem to follow. So I'm really not sure. Our firm, of course, was not involved in the initial permitting. We just been hired to
for the
submit
get well
asphalt
plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So we looked in the file. I just don't know.
Sophia, do you have a better understanding of what is considered the wetland replication area, or is it just that there were restoration planning that needed to happen and that's where the corrective actions need to be?
Unfortunately, I also don't have that history. I was just going off of the plans that I had available and in the office.
And do you have plans that show wetland replication area?
So there's no plan. The only thing I was going off of was the initial planting plan. Which is this right here. And it has a bunch of photos. But like as in a drawing plan. The previous one is the only one I have.
Okay, and from what I saw of that, from that document you just scanned through, and I had read it offline as well, doesn't seem to say wetland replication. It seems to just say that they're doing some revegetation there, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's as far as I could tell, is that it's just, and I don't mean to minimize it, but, you know, when it's a wetland replication, I have a higher level of concern, particularly with, having, third-party reviewers and reports than, replanting. So I wanted to make certain I wasn't missing anything.
Madam Chair, I note there's a Shane Walker here that has their hand raised. I don't know if they
I
have
do
any-
see Shane's hand up, and I was gonna
Sorry.
call on him as soon as we got, but Greg, no issues in letting me know, because as you
Okay,
know,
sorry.
you've been a commissioner. It's hard to keep track of everything that's happening and the
Yeah.
train of thought at the same time. So I do appreciate you making certain I saw that.
You bet.
Okay, so it's replantings that we're really dealing with here. Sophie, do you agree?
Yes. And
Okay.
thanks for drawing that to my attention.
Yeah, very good. Okay, and Shane, like I do see your hand up. Did you have questions or comments? And for the record, please state your name and your address.
Hi, my name's Shane Walker. Hello, Commission and Madam Chair. Thank you for taking the time tonight to speak with me. So I am the new owner of 564 Page Street, what we're looking at now. The previous owner is looking to try and get on the meeting right now. He says he's having trouble getting on. Not sure if we can look into that and see if he can get on here. I don't know if it's, I know we've had issues prior meeting. His name's Tim. I don't know if
He's not actually showing up in the waiting room.
No.
So maybe he's having technical difficulty or something. Jenny,
Is it possible he's looking at an older agenda, which may have a different link?
that's what I was wondering.
Possibly, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, so just basically just some insight. So basically, I purchased the house here back in July, and so I was working with the previous owner in order to get this basically figured out and resolved, if you will, doing it correct and properly. So according to my understanding with this, again, it's an older application back in 2018. Some construction was done on the property. This was particularly, as far as I know, for a septic system installed, which has been noted by Dillis and Roy. So basically, as to my understanding, the original as-built plan was done by a prior engineering firm, as well as hiring Norse Environmental for a planting plan that was according to an order of conditions. And basically, I'm going through this first time, learning the ropes on how all this stuff pans out and plays out. It's a good learning curve for me, getting some knowledge on this. So basically, right now, basically, as far as I'm aware, is basically it's just a planting plan that was required by the town or the current or the prior Conservation Commission, basically just to give back to some of the area. And none of the wetlands was taken. It was just more so working within that buffer zone, as far as I'm aware. And so basically, they called for this particular planting plan. which now, again, it's been past the 3-year mark. So basically the owner's working with me or the prior owner is working with me directly, because again, he wants to get it resolved, do it right, and, get this done. And so we've been working together for the past couple months here in order to meet that criteria. We've met with the commission, with Sophie, a few times here. She's been out to the property a couple times to take a look at the trees and bushes and whatnot. And so I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, just forefront. Yes, I ended up taping the leaves to the tree. It was a poor decision. It's, I can't take it back. And again, there's photos and it's done, but basically my out of that is that I learned my mistake. I ended up taking the time. I spent a good few $100s on new trees. I took a weekend, went down to Lakeview Nursery, local nursery, as you guys know, and spent a good amount of time with my girlfriend and a knowledgeable sales rep on the process to replace said tree, as well as another one, and the care of the blueberry bushes. And so basically what we had to do, obviously there was a red maple that was not in good health. So we went ahead and purchased a 2-inch caliper red maple to plant back in its original place. And again, doing that to Lakeview's recommendations. Sophie should have some photos of that, of the new plantings. And basically, I don't know. I don't think that, so that shows the old one there. There should be a couple more photos here. That shows what I've replaced here. Yeah, there we go. And then as well as, in the oak tree. So again, basically took the time with Lakeview, showed me, the best planting procedure, how to get it in there and how to get it established. And then again, with the blueberry bushes, Sophie had noted that they didn't look like they're in the best of health. And again, basically just from my knowledge, again, got a couple opinions, and the individual had noted that, the time of year, it was definitely tough for these blueberry bushes. And so again, we basically figured out the best thing was that we had a lot of weeds up against it that were encroaching, taking nutrients out of the soil. So he had suggested basically to clean that up, give a 1-foot radius around it, put some untainted pine mulch with it. And again, the blueberry bushes, hopefully should keep growing. They have a lot of new green growth to them, taking off, which I showed a few photos to the individual, and he said, give it some time here, and they definitely will come back better than they have been before. I don't know if we have another photo in here that shows they did produce blueberries back here in, I believe it was August. That we're looking at. So again, they are producing and fairly healthy. And then, so as far as the other trees, again, followed their planting procedure, the watering procedure, and again, trying to get those established and maintained. So basically, again, I appreciate you guys taking the time here to listen to this and hear me out. But basically, again, this is a little bit of a, an older plan, but again, it nonetheless, we're trying to do it correctly and properly, and meet the criteria. So again, going back to getting a survey done for the property or for these plants, I'm just looking, at it as in, I'm not saying that I don't want to do it, but again, it's an extra expense. We've spent quite a bit of money together jointly, getting engineering done, getting a new plan done, showing that we haven't added any new structures. There's nothing new to encroaching on the wetlands. And then in some of the photos, you can tell that outside of the planting plan, there's at least probably 20 feet of vegetation that's grown back around the pond from those original photos. So again, there's a lot of natural growth going back to it. And basically, again, it's, you know, right there, as you can see, all that's grown in completely. You know, we have, you know, birds, deer, you name it. And again, that's the number one reason why we bought this property is we honestly really do like nature. And I think, you know, again, we want to try and keep it maintained and do it right. But again, trying to follow the criteria, trying to follow the rules and regulations that you guys have to attend to. I know that Mike and Jenny had come out this past Saturday. They had looked at the property as it is, and as far as I know, they didn't have any concerns. They felt comfortable the way it was and how it met. I don't know if you two might be able to give some input here if you don't mind. And again, that's what I got for you guys. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you, Shane. And Shane, you do understand that in Lunenburg, our jurisdictional areas include the buffer zones as well.
Yes.
So not just the wetland.
Yes.
And within 30 foot of the wetland is called a do not touch zone.
Yes, correct.
So-
30
okay.
foot, no touch zone, 50 foot, a no build zone, and 100 foot is a, I guess, jurisdictional zone, if you will.
Yeah, discretionary.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. And then the plantings that are part of the plan that have been approved
Yes.
are expected to be taken care of and replaced if they're not thriving or, you know, for some reason they happen to die. So we expect them to stay there and grow and thrive over the years.
Yes, understand. And again, just, you know, again, just for a side note, the plants that have been there for quite a while, again, we have pretty much a 80% success rate. There were, of course, the 2 trees that had not made it, but, you know, for the past 5 years, granted here, you know, an 80% success rate, I would say is fairly decent. Obviously, we want to see 100%. But again, I think for where we're at right now, I think we've covered our bases. I think we've, you know, tried to meet the criteria and give back to the area, you know, better than what it was. You know, again, give wildlife, you know, basically, you know, homes and habitats, and again, try and give back to it. And again, we don't have intentions on, you know, harming that by any stretch. And again, that's the number one reason why we bought the property is we like the, you know, it's got a good backdrop for woods. And again, the wildlife comes in here. We have deer in here pretty much every night. You know, again, ducks during the, you know, spring and whatnot, that we saw when we did our first walkthrough. So again, we don't have any intentions of hurting. Again, we want to try and aid and do as much as we can, you know, to keep it going.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mike and or Jenny, do you have any comments to add since you did have the ability to walk the property?
Jen, do you want to go first, or do you have any comment?
You can go first.
All right. I thought, you know, that there was a good array of plants that they had planted, and thought that they were beginning to take root and thrive. Jenny had brought up a good suggestion regarding the blueberry bushes that looked like they may have been tapped a little bit by deer, and she had suggested perhaps putting some cages around those plantings just to kind of give them a chance to thrive themselves. And the applicant seemed to be amenable to that. I'm not sure if they've done it yet or will do it, but those are some of my observations for this, the planting that's going on at this property.
Thank you, Mike. Jenny?
So, yeah, I think that what they had there, it looked like it was starting to do pretty well, you know, for the season. And I think that if they do what they can to keep them doing well, like maybe putting a cage around the blueberries, it will be, you know, good for them because they'll have what they need for their yard, but also it'll help them, you know, get the plantings needed for the plan. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. And Sophia, did Shane's comments and Ryan's letter address all of your concerns on the property about what had been required and what has been done?
At this point, I would say yes. I'm just still, since the last couple trees didn't thrive over the past few years, just a little concerned about the ones that they just replaced a couple weeks ago, but it's still within the planting. It's okay to plant during this time of year, so maybe there's a shot for them
Well,
to be successful.
I understand your concerns, and given the history and the unfortunate issues with the taping, I would be inclined not to grant this at this time, but have you go back out after foliage reemerges in the spring and is reestablished to verify that everything made it through the winter. That'd be my own thought about this. Jenny, you had other comments?
I was actually, I mean, just gonna say the same thing, like, we don't have to close this today. It's not going to, if we leave it open and check in on it again and hope everything's doing well, there's no reason that we would have to close it today, right? But then you said it. So.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Do we have other questions or comments by the commission? Do you have any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, then I think I'm looking for a motion to deny. And I actually, Sophia, from a procedural perspective, can we just continue this to the spring? And if we deny it, I think the applicant would have to refile and pay for another COC, right?
I don't know about continuing something like this since you've made a decision and a decision needs to be issued to them.
Do we need to issue a decision? Procedurally, I mean, Shane's here and he has heard the advice and it sounds like he's doing all the right stuff. We just want to make certain that these plants actually make it through the winter and get the kind of support that they need.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, Greg Roy here.
Greg, yes, please.
Yeah, I think I would appreciate it if you did not deny the certificate of compliance request, but just don't take any action at this present time. And we will, you're not beholden. I think what you're saying is you're going on record saying you don't have enough information to issue a certificate of compliance at this time. I would just
yeah, that's what I'm thinking is that procedurally that's the best option for us and the applicant.
Yeah, and so we'll just you know, the information, well, I don't know. The information that most of the information that you have will be still applicable to the process in the spring. We will probably just supplement it with a additional letter with a supplemental inspection report, which would give you guys cue to put it back on the agenda with the previously, you know, with the current plans that you have.
I think just as much as sending an email to Sophia and
yeah, well, we'll
like the end of April or something, right? It says, hey, come back out and validate.
Yeah, we'll issue another letter that's similar to what Ryan wrote last month with updated pictures based on how it did over the winter, and that'll be your cue to put it back on an agenda, do another site inspection to verify what we're saying, and hopefully we can close it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, and that keeps Shane from having to pay another request fee.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a fee, to be quite honest with you, but still, it's just procedurally, if we don't have to submit the whole thing again, it'd be nice.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. So I'm looking for an emotion to
just don't take action on it. Yeah,
to not take action and wait until the applicant's representative sends us a letter in the spring confirming all the foliage has reemerged.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Mike and Jenny. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
and I for myself. Thank you all. We'll move on to 386 Sunset Lane for certificate of compliance.
This one is pretty straightforward. All the work was done as approved on the plan submitted. Everything's stabilized. The grass is growing very lusciously. And they didn't do any other work that wasn't permitted, and everything was done according to plan, so approve this one.
Do we have any questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, 48 Pearl Street.
So this one was a little more complicated. This was some work on the bank of a resource area. There were several retaining walls that they wanted to add to address the erosion issues they were having on the site. And after between other agents and myself, there have been a couple different revisions. And as they were doing the work, they decided to add another retaining wall to address some possible issues from a couple of large trees that they agreed to keep per the commission's request. They've had a little bit of erosion issues, but they've been trying to keep up with that by replacing and replenishing the jute matting that's underneath some mulching. But they've been trying to keep up with landscaping, and I think it should be sufficient for keeping the erosion under control. Although there were 2 trees that were proposed to be planted on the plan. However, the applicant was concerned that the trees weren't going to be able to thrive in the very shaded area that only gets a couple hours of sunlight throughout the day. In the same kind of proximity of those trees, there are a couple of dogwoods that have taken root, and they've grown. So I think that although the retaining wall did not go through conservation and did not have the prior approval for that, I did get the updated plan that shows that additional retaining wall as an after the fact. So I would still think we could probably approve this unless the
Do
commission
you
has
have the plans to show us?
I
So I
do.
can kind of orient myself with your narrative there.
Yes. So this is one of the plans. This is one retaining wall. This is at the bank. This is a secondary retaining wall here. and then the third one here. And then kind of trying to switch back to the other. There were multiple. This one was done by Hannigan. So here it's the first wall, proposed wall, and I don't like how there's a yellow box jumping around, but here's the next wall right here.
I think
So
those
this was
yellow
the first
boxes
plan.
are Adobe comments that have been embedded in there.
Possibly. And then these are the proposed trees that didn't go in.
Okay, so show me again, what was the wall that went in that was not part of the approved plan?
This one here.
That one?
And
Okay.
so they were, I think the idea was to help mitigate, because these trees are very large. And I think it was to help mitigate the erosion to begin with, because the root systems were just so expansive.
Mm-hmm. How tall is that retaining wall?
Oh,
I know it's a steep area in over there on Pearl Street.
well, I can say it was taller than me. Over
Oh,
5 feet.
really?
Yes.
And did it get a building permit as well? I think over 4 feet, you're supposed to get a building permit, right?
That I don't know. Looking for a measurement. I would assume there would be some sort of
You would think.
oh, right here on the side.
Okay, so I don't know. I'm not so familiar with the building code to know if it is 4 feet. Does it need the I thought if it was 4 feet or higher, it needed to have a permit.
It's stating 4 feet, I think, right here.
Mm-hmm.
0 feet 4 inches max, but I really thought it was taller than that.
Okay, I think you need to talk to Brian about that particular aspect of it as well. Jeff.
So, I mean, I was just trying to go from memory here, but I thought that was a 3-tiered wall. And I just found a plan from September of 21 that shows that
3-tiered
second
wall.
from, yeah. They changed the stairs. Initially, the stairs were going to come down and then kind of hang at right going north. And then they said that wasn't going to work, so they put that second wall in. But it wasn't as long. So it looks
You're
like they
saying
extended
second
it.
wall, and I'm thinking that the current as-built shows 3 walls. One at the
Well,
water line.
I guess the first wall being the lake. That's not
Okay.
really, yeah. So the third tier,
Okay.
I think was on the original approval. They came back for a change to it.
That makes me feel better. Thank you for finding that, Jeff.
Yeah. It's in the Google Drive.
Okay, so then we think the third tier there had been somehow communicated to the Conservation Commission. is what it seems like Jeff is finding. So now talk to us again, Sophia, about the two plantings that they did not put in, but you thought something about some other plantings were there that compensate for that?
So the two proposed trees here in this location, they did not plant because of how shaded the area is. And then it's kind of hard to tell on that one. Well, I guess we could use this. So there's some dogwood coming up in different location. I believe it's right, I would say right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically regrowing out of a previously cut stump when it's taking off. And then the rest of the landscaping is all throughout maturity of the property.
And landscaping meaning what? The grading or that there are plantings or what?
Both. There's like the grading, mulching, and many plantings. Some look like different types of junipers that are kind of trailing species that kind of expand, which I think is really important to help with the erosion. And then they were also talking about adding some larger grasses, like along this edge right here.
Okay.
So they seem to be very understanding that you kind of sink all this money and effort into this erosion project to stop the erosion, and they understand that it's definitely a long-term thing that you have to maintain and keep up with.
So okay, that answers, I think, my questions. I'm not inclined to ignore the fact that they have proposed plantings that they did not observe, and that it's just on the request for completion that we find out they decided not to plant them. You know, we do want them to choose varieties that'll thrive, but there are understory trees that thrive in the shade. So it seems like it's most appropriate in this case for them to ask them to come back with you know, revised planting proposal. So I have an SD that has raised their hands. Please state your name and address.
Yep, it's Suzanne DeGeorge, and I am the homeowner at 48 Pearl Street.
Oh, welcome, Suzanne.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to talk about the plantings a bit and hope that the commission would consider that we did plant 2 large holly bushes this year. And also we have more than 50 other plantings that include different varieties of juniper, like Sophie mentioned, they're growing. We also have some other shade plants, some hostas in that general area. And then we are going to plant the seagrass along the wall. So I would ask for the commission's blessing to let us include those 50 plus plantings in place of those 2 trees and give us the opportunity to approve based on, you know, the additional plantings that don't include those 2 additional trees.
Okay, I'm willing to consider that, but I would like for that to be part of the formal documentation. You know, what are those other plantings? Where are they planted? Generally speaking, when people submit a plan to us and say, hey, we're going to plant this tree in that location, we expect them to do it. And very often people come back with a revised plan. That's not unusual at all. For them to come back and say, oh, hey, you know, these varieties don't work there, or those varieties, you know, that was too dense. Think we need to make X, Y, or Z amendment, and we consider those changes. and very often, do approve those change requests. But I want it to be part of the formal documentation. I mean, that's my expectation as one, member of the commission.
Understood. Would the commission be okay, would we be submitting a revised planting plan, and would the commission be okay with those 2 dogwoods that have started to grow and take off be those 2 trees that we would have additionally planted, because they are in that general vicinity?
One thing that I do consider, because the distance from the wetland would give you, more or less give those plantings more or less protection, depending on how far away they were from the wetland or from the lake in this case. So if they're within the 30-foot zone where those plantings, it looks like were proposed to be, yeah, I think that would be a good thing to do. And listen, you don't have to go hire pay your engineer to go revise the drawings. You can take the drawing that they gave you, make a copy of it, and pencil in, right, with the appropriate approximate distances, and say these are the things that we've added, are proposing to add, and not, in lieu of adding those other trees. So we're not asking you to go spend money. I just want to make certain you're clear about that. It doesn't have to be an engineered drawing of where they're going.
Okay. Would the commission consider approving tonight with the consideration that we would submit to Sophie that detailed planting plan as you just described, Madam Chair?
Okay, so I'm one vote, and because I'm the chair, I do get to talk more than everybody else, which is sometimes a privilege and sometimes a burden. But anyway, I would prefer to see it and vote on what I see, versus approving something sight unseen. And I've not had the benefit of walking out on your property there. I don't know, do other members of the commission have other thoughts about that? We'll just give them an opportunity to speak up if they choose. Chris?
Yeah, just as a matter of procedure, we don't usually go verbals. We for documentation, we just usually have to see it.
Thank you, Chris. And Mike, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did, Madam Chair, and I want to concur with my fellow commissioners. It'd be nice to be able to see the plan first and then vote on it.
Okay. So just so that I understand, you guys are looking for us to take the plans that you've already approved and just put on the exact plantings as they are currently?
Yeah, yeah, and just, you can just handwrite a note on there that, proposing not to install these trees, adding these additional plantings in these locations, instead of that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. So then, would you be able to provide that, Suzanne, do you think by the next meeting? The next meeting is November 6th?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so then, let's continue this hearing to, November 6th. I'm looking for a motion to continue.
Motion to continue till November 6th.
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
And I for myself. Thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And moving along, notice of project change, 171 Arbor Street. We just did that hearing, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. That was the one we just did.
Okay. We don't have any further actions there, right?
Nope.
Okay. 22 Fairview Road, Sophie already let us know that one, the applicant requested that be heard on November 16th. 181 Reservoir Road.
Brian Marchetti here again.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. So 181 Reservoir Road, I had obtained a notice of intent for the homeowners back in 2020. And it was for the installation of a garage with a gravel driveway at their property. It was within the outer riparian zone. And since it was installed, or even before it was installed, I've been working with the applicant in the town because stormwater runoff from Reservoir Road has been a problem on their property. It runs down Reservoir Road and then into their driveway. And it historically has been washing off the driveway, causing flooding problems on their property. And over the years, I believe the town of Lunenburg has tried to make some improvements to the stormwater or to the shoulders of the road. They curbed it, they did other things, but stormwater continues to run onto their property. So in the past year or so, we've been working with DPW to try to come up with a drainage solution in Reservoir Road. Unfortunately, none of the budgeting was approved at town meeting. So in order to stop the driveway, it's a gravel driveway now, from eroding and washing out, Bill Bernard recommended that they pave the driveway in lieu of the gravel driveway that we had originally gotten approved. I have a plan if you want, if I can share it with you.
Oh, yeah, hang on just a minute, Brian. Okay, yeah, you can share.
Okay. So this was the original plan. Here's Reservoir Road. This is the house. We had permitted this two-car garage with an extension of the of a gravel driveway. Their existing driveway is gravel. This proposed driveway is gravel. But water is continuously running down Reservoir Road onto their property. It's washing out the driveway. And it basically, the water runs past the garage back to the resource area. So as I said, Bill Bernard recommended, and the applicants or the homeowners agreed, they'd like to, instead of the gravel driveway that's out there now, they'd like to pave it. So we're just proposing changing the cover type, basically from the gravel driveway that's there now to asphalt. There's no change in any of the coverage or impact areas. It's a riverfront area impact. It's all previously degraded riverfront area or previously disturbed. So there's no change in the numbers, just in the cover type. And again, here's the letter. Bill Bernard issued a letter, I believe, yesterday to Sophia, just giving his support for the project. So he stated, on multiple occasions, I've witnessed stormwater runoff flowing into the gravel driveway, causing erosion and puddling. At the request of the homeowner, I hired a consultant to design drainage improvements at the site, which consisted of new stormwater BMPs and drainage pipes. I requested capital funds to complete the work, but did not receive any funding. Therefore, I support the applicant's request to pave the driveway and eliminate the erosion of the gravel driveway and reduce puddling. So, I requested, spoken to Sophia a couple weeks ago whether we could just do this administratively. However, she thought that because it was, we still have an open order, we may as well just request an amendment and just, formally cover this.
Makes a lot of sense, sure. I don't have any questions about that. It makes sense to me, and particularly since it's in the outer riparian zone and a previously disturbed area.
Yep.
I'm not that concerned about the change. Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? And if there are no questions or comments, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, have a good night.
Okay, moving along to enforcement and violations. Do we have any updates for any of those parcels that we're tracking here? Sophia?
The 40 Fire Road 12, the applicants were contacted, and like both via email and a certified mail for the enforcement order. That was approximately 3 weeks ago. I believe I've only received one certified receipt with a signature from Thomas Wu.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall seeing one from Scott Benjamin.
Okay. And so then what does the protocol dictate in this case? I mean, we got to treat them the same. So we have to get the certified mail tab back for Scott Benjamin or Benjamin Scott.
Yes. I mean, I'm not sure what the protocol is when they don't return it.
I think that's a conversation with Adam Costa.
I do have a scheduled meeting with him anyway coming up, so I can add that to the list.
Yes, please do. And we're interested in pursuing day for day fines.
That's
If
correct.
as soon as Adam advises that we can. I mean, ideally, we really just want the project to be completed and over. And so if the residents there would just get it completed and over, then we can stop talking about it. I mean, nobody really is interested in pursuing fines or fining anybody. We really just want the work done. But where we're not getting compliance, I believe we need to escalate the approach as much as our legal counsel, the town's legal counsel, advises that we do until we can get compliance.
I agree.
When are you speaking to Adam? Is it next Monday or the week after?
I'm looking at my calendar right now. There's a lot in here. This would be on the 23rd. Wednesday.
Okay.
Hey, Madam Chair, this is Brian Marchetti. Do you know what the enforcement order is for 1168 Mass Ave rear?
You know, that's just one where we got a report of non-compliance, and I'm not aware that we've made any progress in investigating it. Sophia, is that the status of that one?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, that's something I can just follow up with you on, Sophia, at the office.
Okay.
All right, thank you. It's a client I work with, so.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so yeah, once Sophia, once you have spoken with Adam, if you would town council just get me updated on what his advice is about next steps here, and next steps probably needs to be the next 2 or 3 steps. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from other members of the commission? Okay. Any other updates from any of these other parcels we're tracking?
I believe something came in for 205 Sunset Lane.
I think you circulated a letter from Mass DEP.
Yes, and I cannot recall I'm trying to pull it up, but I can't locate it at this second.
Seems like Mass DEP upheld everything that the commission had instructed, I thought. But issued for the state WPA issued formalization because the problem was we had not issued the order of conditions in a timely fashion. But again, I'm going by memory.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And then they did note that their ruling did not overrule any local regulation or bylaw. So my instruction was that we needed to go ahead and issue an order of conditions and make certain that we did not contradict anything in the DEP ruling. And I thought, Sophia, that probably you should get some instruction from the DEP office that had issued the ruling, just to make certain that we covered the bases and we didn't inadvertently contradict anything that they had said. But we do need to issue an OOC so that we have written instruction and binding instruction that's consistent with our jurisdiction under the town and municipal bylaw.
Yes, that's all correct. And now that I recall everything, I had to go back and forth with a couple different people, including, yes, Brianna from DEP, on how to appropriately fill that out and issue that. And I think that was last time I was working on that was 10/9.
Okay, so then we might be
Yes.
seeing a request for signature coming around
Oh, you did
sometime
definitely.
soon for that. Okay,
Yes.
very good. I appreciate that it's a lot of work to kind of track down all the fine points on some of these unusual cases. So I appreciate you doing that for us.
Yes, I don't want to miss anything, especially with something like this.
Thank you for that. Any other updates in enforcements? Have we 10 Mass Ave is one that I went to with you, and they had done a bunch of work, not asked for an RDA or an NOI or anything, kept saying they were going to apply, but we've never seen any evidence that they've actually submitted an application. Is that correct?
That's right. And they said
Um,
that they would work with me and reach back out, and they haven't.
Have you had an opportunity to go back out to that property?
I have not.
Could you put that on your next time you're out doing site walks, to go out there and visit? Because I seem to recall that they had taken up a lot of pavement. There were erosion controls that they put in place at either you or one of the interim conservation administrators' advice, but then those erosion barriers were failing, and I'm a little worried. We've got Pearl Creek that runs behind that parcel. That they either need to file something, or we need to put them in a enforcement situation where they have to take corrective actions to restabilize that bank area.
Okay, I will do that. I will pay them a visit next Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, just in the usual, when you're out and about,
Yeah.
yeah, if you would. Okay, thank you.
I think 390, we already talked about 390 Howard Street. That's it for tonight.
Okay, very good, thank you. I'm just making a note about Mass Ave. Okay, do we have any topics? I mean, nobody's notified me of any topics within the last 48 hours. Oh, Bob, I think has gotten back back from Italy, so I can follow up with him on title searches and on encroachments. I don't have any further information on those. I don't have any updates on grants, nor on conservation land improvement. Jenny.
Do we remember what property iPhone 85 was here for? Because they're still on. Want to make sure we didn't overlook
Oh,
them.
yeah, they are still on. Good eye, Jenny. Thank you.
I just sent them a request to unmute in case they forgot why they're here.
Maybe they forgot they were still here.
Looks like they might have.
Yeah, and that's okay too. Okay, well, we gave him a chance. And thanks for keeping an eye on that for us, Jenny. I appreciate it. Any updates on the Hollis Road residents or pollinator habitat, Mike?
Yes, Madam Chair. As a matter of fact, I spoke with Chris Ruth today, who informed me that Nick Harrison, the person who's been doing the painting and the repairs at 123 Hollis Road, said that he found some cabinets for our kitchen there at Habitat for Humanity in Leominster.
Oh, excellent.
And he kind of said that, the price tag is like $5,000 for like $12,000 worth of cabinets. So it looked like a pretty good deal. So I was hoping that we could approve that purchase on behalf of Hollis Road through the Hawes Fund, since I think we still have close to $40,000 left in that fund, even after the purchase of the lawnmower this past summer.
Yes, that's consistent with my understanding of the funding there as well, Mike.
And Chris said that he would find a way of storing them until we were ready to do the kitchen. Now, granted, it's just the cabinets. We'd have to include Nick's labor on that to remove the old cabinets and
install new ones, install countertops.
Right.
I'm assuming sink and.
Correct.
Yeah.
Once the cabinets are in, then you can make a template on the countertops and we can get a number on that, but everything kind of hinges on the cabinets.
Yep.
And because it's so early, I had not seen them, but it appears that Nick is pretty astute at knowing what a good cabinet is versus a not so good. So my assumption is, they're plywood, side cabinets with, modern faces on them with hardware. And so after speaking with Nick many times on painting projects, I feel pretty comfortable. He knows what he's doing. And so based on that, I'd like to
Mike, is it actually $5,000 or is it around $5,000? Because what I would prefer is that we maybe do a not to exceed number that includes, like tax or anything else that might round that up.
Well, we would be tax exempt.
Okay.
So,
delivery, is that going to be some kind of charge we have to consider as well?
I think Nick has the ability to transport. May have to make a couple of trips from Leominster, which we're not talking a big distance. And I'm sure he can always rent something from Home Depot for $20 if you get it back in 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say that you know, if you wanted to add a little bit on transportation, you know, we're only talking $20, so not to exceed $5,100 would be my guess.
Okay. And will that cover next time as well?
I'm sure his time will probably be included in the install.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, yeah. You know, honestly, I'm just asking you all the questions I ask my staff when they come
Oh,
and
yeah.
say, hey, I need to do a PO. It just automatically happens. I'm not meaning to grill you, I'm sorry.
No, no, please do. That's very appropriate to ask. So that's what I'd like to propose.
Not to exceed $5,100
Yes,
out of the Haas fund?
correct.
Okay, that sounds like a decent proposal. Anybody have any questions or comments? I'm looking for a motion to approve funding of not to exceed $5,100 for cabinets for the Hollis Road residents out of the Hawes Fund.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, Mike and Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you, Mike. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Awesome.
The one thing about, you know, just to keep in mind, remember we talked about the roof to try to see if we want, you know, we did a patch this spring and it looks like it's held. We have not got any calls. On the contrary, but we're hoping that we're not going to have big snow loads this winter, and you know that may change what we need to do about the roof at some point. And Nick assures me that roof work can still be done as long as there's not, you know, snow on the roof at the time of.
What about cost? I had thought I had heard somewhere that we weren't supposed to spend more than $10,000 a year out of this fund. I mean, and I may have misheard it.
I think it's 10,000 per
PO.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
10,000 per incident.
Okay. Okay, that's the only thing I was thinking, because I think the budget cycle for the town starts kind of in January.
Yes.
And so like if we thought we were gonna have to have them like have a special consideration to fund something, you know, probably now would be the time to start, you know, socializing it with the powers that be. But you think it's 10,000 per incident?
Yes.
And we think the roof would be less than that or more than that?
We don't know. We you know, we don't have a number.
Yeah, it might be good to get a number just so we know, and then we also have something to verify if, you know, we have to ask for any
Okay.
special exception to regular process to be able to support redoing the roof.
Talking to Chris today, he said he's pretty well booked for all of those budget issues you were just talking about for himself and his department. He says he wouldn't be able to begin to do anything more at Hollis Road till the middle of November. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if that also includes getting estimates for a roof to be,
Yeah, it probably does, but if you could just get us, you know, into his queue for
okay.
no middle of November or whatnot, I think that sounds good.
I will call him and let him know about our vote tonight, and I'll ask him that question.
Okay, excellent.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no updates from open space. Jenny, any stormwater updates?
No updates from stormwater either.
And has the fall MACC conference happened, or is that upcoming this weekend?
That is this Saturday.
This Saturday. Okay. Well, and you're going, yeah.
Yep, and Sophie is also going.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Very good. Okay, I'll be interested in hearing outtakes from that. Sorry, I've got to miss it this year.
Yeah, it's bummer.
Okay, do we have any other parting comments from members of the commission? Comments from members of the public? And it is 9:48, and I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Jenny. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Aye,
You
everybody.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.